I would like to bring out our guest artist, Mr. Bob Baca. He gave us a wonderful clinic earlier today in the auditorium. He's been judging bands all day long, and he's ready to play for you. So let's please welcome Mr. Bob Baca.
Let's hear it again for Northrop High School.
got done, she leaned over and she said, "You know, you're kind of like creeping me out."
Oh yeah, about another 4 minutes. Can you hang on that long? Do I earn the right to take my coat off?
I'm happily married. What do you think about this great band? That's a hard tune. This song really shows the classical ability of an ensemble. Some of you may learn it in college, but in case you learned it in high school, the middle section of that piece was a fugue. And the best description of a fugue is when one line starts and then another one follows, and another one follows, and another one follows, and somehow they all sound good together. And so that was a piece called Love Story. If you attended the clinic that I gave this afternoon, I love that piece, and I heard it with a brass choir played by Doc Severinsen many years ago. It's on an album called Brass Roots, probably from the 1960s. And I just fell in love with his sound and did not have the range or the technique to perform the tune, and so I just imitated what he did, and I did whatever I could, and when I couldn't play any higher, then I wouldn't just play those notes, and just kept playing it over and over and over again. So it's really a great thing about just imitating that sound. We're going to play one more tune for you now. This is a very, very historical tune. Actually, it could be said that this was the tune that really broke all barriers for modern jazz. In the big band swing era, jazz was the #1, the top pop art form. And we've never had that happen before, where jazz was actually like, you know, Madonna and stuff like that. And everybody listened to it. And the bands were on the road 52 weeks a year. And in every small town across America, the greatest big bands would come to that town. The two most important buildings in every small town, 500 or less people, would be the church and the dance hall. And bands like the Count Basie Orchestra and the Duke Ellington Band would come to our town. How many people have seen Prince in Fort Wayne, Indiana? Probably not going to happen. Or how many people have seen Sons of the Car Wash That's actually a good way to say that. So those kind of things just don't happen anymore because of the way that the industry, it was a very personable time. And the bands, quite frankly, just got really sick of a lot of the tunes. The Glenn Miller Band, for instance, in its heyday, In the Mood was played 6 times a day by the Glenn Miller Band. And so bands, as they were traveling, they just started making up different tunes. Many of Duke Ellington's greatest tunes were melodies that came about by his band players warming up. Solitude was one of those. Harry Carney was warming up, and he said, that's really nice, and made that song Solitude. And many of the bands played something that was called a head chart. And that's where they had an ostinato or a line that they would just add, and then they would add a series of those lines and it would become a tune. Caledonia with the Woody Herman Band was a very popular one. Well, Dizzy Gillespie had this new revolution going on called bebop, and he wanted to really make it happen. But the big band swing era was so popular, and it was this really etched out way that he really didn't care for, because it didn't have an emphasis on soloing. And he was like, jazz is all about soloing. It's not about, the solos being really small, and it's about the compositions for the big bands. So he formed his first small group in 1942, and it failed miserably. Couldn't get it off the ground at all. So what he decided to do is in 1945, he formed a big band. But he put his kind of music in it, and he combined another element of music that no one, the popular public, had not heard of before, and that was combining Afro-Cuban elements in with swing. And he composed an entire suite, and it was headed up by this song. He called it the Afro-Cuban Suite. It became one of his most popular tunes, and it was led by this song. Now, he recorded this song 5 times, and the second time that he recorded it was an all-black band. And the black bands were very different than the white bands in the fact that they didn't worry about getting a phrase exactly perfect, like Glenn Miller's band was so big on that. It was just more about having a groove and being spontaneous. So this was a head chart, and this band has learned a lot of this tune by rote. So if you hear anything fall apart in this tune, I just want you to know that is historically correct if that happens. So they've just gotten 100 different signals of what they're supposed to do to go through this song, and hopefully they will use each other to keep each other's place in there. This was also composed by a Dizzy Gillespie and his Latin percussionist named Chano Pozo. And so we're very fortunate today that we have Chano Pozo's great, he's really awesome, great grandson that has come back to play this song all the way from Cuba for us. So let's give Chano Pozo's. So he helped to write this song, and he's going to do a solo, I hope, on this song, right? You're going to do it? Okay, all right. And so we would like to perform this song for you, ladies and, the second time that they recorded this, it was an all-black band, and they had a very bad